The composition of an EJBHome proxy in JBoss in Jakarta Enterprise Bean, so EJB. Here you can see the composition of an EJBHome proxy in JBoss. Let's begin our tour of the EJB container by looking at the client view of an EJB through the home and remote proxies. It is the responsibility of the container provider to generate the javax.ejb.ejbhome and javax.ejb.ejb object for an EJB implementation. A client never references an EJB bean instance directly, rather it references EJBHome. Which implements the bean home interface and EJB object. Which implements the bean remote interface. This figure shows the composition of EJBHome proxy and its relationship to the EJB deployment. Here you can see the EJB developer, EJB deployer, org.jboss.ejb.ejb deployer is invoked to deploy an EJB jar. An EJB module org.jboss.ejb.ejb module is created to encapsulate the deployment metadata. The create pace of EJB module lifecycle creates an EJB proxy factory org.jboss.ejb.ejb proxy factory that manages the creation of EJBHome and remote interface proxies based on the EJB module invoker proxy binding metadata. There can be multiple proxy factories associated with an EJB, and we will look at this more closely shortly. The proxy factory construct the logical proxies and bind the home into JNDI. A logical proxy is composed of a dynamic proxy, java.lang.reflect.proxy, and the home interface, of the EJB that proxy exposes, the proxy handler, java.lang.reflect.invocation handler, implementation in the form of client container, org.jboss.proxy.client container, and the client side interceptors. The proxy created by the EJB proxy factory is a standard proxy. It is a serializable object that proxies the EJBHome and remote interfaces as defined in the EJB module metadata. The proxy translate the request made through the strongly typed EJB interface into the D-type invocation using client container handler associated with the proxy. The dynamic proxy instance is bound into JNDI as the EJBHome interface that clients look up. When a client does the lookup of a EJBHome, the home proxy is transported into the client VM along with the client container and its interceptors. Using dynamic proxies avoid the EJB specific compilation step required by many other EJB containers. The EJBHome interface is declared in the EJB-jar.xml descriptor and is available from the EJB module metadata. A key property of dynamic proxies is that they implement the interfaces that expose. This is true in the sense of Java's strong typing system. A proxy can be cast to any of the home interfaces. The reflection on the proxy provides a full details of the interfaces it proxies. A proxy delegates calls made through any of its interfaces to the client container handler. A single method required of the handler is public object invoke, object proxy, method dem, object array args, throws a throwable. The EJB proxy factory create client container and assign this as a proxy handler. The client container state consists of an invocation context org.jboss.invocation.invocation context and chain of interceptors org.jboss.proxy.interceptor. The invocation context contains following: the JMX object name of the EJB container, M being that the proxy is associated with, the JavaX EJB metadata for the EJB, the JNDI name of the EJBHome interface, the transport specific invoker org.jboss.invocation.invoker. Interception chain consists of the functional units that make up the EJBHome and remote interface behavior. This is a configurable aspect of an EJB. An interceptor makes and the interceptor makeup is contained in the EJB module metadata. Interceptors org.jboss.proxy.interceptor handle the different EJB types security, transactions, and transport. You can add your own interceptors as well. The transport specific invoker associated with the proxy has an association to the server side detached invoker that handles the transport details of the EJB method invocation. Detailed the detached invoker is a JBoss server side component. You configure the client side interceptors by using jboss.xml client interceptors element. When the client container invoke method is called, it creates an untyped invocation org.jboss.invocation to encapsulate request. This is then passed to the interceptor chain. The last interceptor in the chain is the transport handler that knows how to send the request to the server and obtain reply, taking care of the transport specific details. Here you can see EJB deployer is connected to EJB module, and EJB module is connected to Proxy factory. Proxy factory is connected to Proxy. Proxy and client containers are inside logical EJB proxy. Proxy interacts with EJBHome. Proxy interacts with client container. Client container interacts with JBoss server. Now this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching it.